What do you name Millie Mae? What do you name? What do you name Millie Mae to me? Is your name Caroline? I don't think so. Millie Mae, what is your name?
Welcome to Millie's Gun Safe. Hey, Millie Mae, welcome back.
Hey, Millie. First snow day of 2025.
Woo!
You've already gone out for your first recess and waiting for us to get through this video so you can go out for recess number 2.
Yes.
We got finished talking about forgiveness on our last video, and we've had multiple conversations ourselves since then, and Mama's had some people reach out and with just thanks or questions. And so if people are having questions, you're going to be having questions.
Yeah.
But in the process of thinking about this and being a teacher, I remember sitting in one of my college classes, education course, and it said without public education, you would max out the cognitive development of a 10-year-old. And so I was like, spiritually, what would that be like? I mean, is that the equivalent? Like if you didn't have proper training and an instruction and you're just left to your own learning, would you have the capacity of like a 10-year-old spiritually? So who knows? Haven't looked any research on that, but but it is something to consider. But this forgiveness idea, I can honestly tell you that, I think that you get saved, you celebrate, right? And after the celebration, you go right in to a deep training of forgiveness from the get-go. Like, don't wait till you're 51 to go through the process of total forgiveness. It should be one of the first major concepts that they talk about.
Especially, and I love that point, because no matter whether you were young like I was or you were older like your dad, or whoever, we've got to learn this. You know what I mean? And then the older you are becoming a believer, there's a lot more forgiveness right off the bat you need to walk through. So it just makes total sense to me that would be the next thing.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it is just brushed over so quickly. There's some false expectations that are put on Christians. There's Christian behavior that it's going to be put on you, like people will say, "I'll just turn the other cheek." Well, that is biblical, but it might not be applicable for the moment, and it might not apply to forgiveness at all. And basically, turning the cheek or just saying love one another, that's what the Lord tells you, love your enemies. These are the things that are just thrown out there constantly.
Without explanation and example and being taught what that means, the context of it, what that looks like.
So you can do that, but the Lord commands that we forgive, right? And according to our standard of measure, it'll be held against us, and it's like we're not taught that stuff. And so I think between what we've shared with you as you go through the book of total forgiveness, but I think it's important to stop for a moment and talk about what forgiveness is not. Because the whole idea of this, I said last time, is Christ-likeness is setting the people free. And we want to be set free. We want to set you free. And by understanding what forgiveness is not, it will help set you free. So we have 11 bullets that we kind of want to walk through. And we've kind of chunked those together because some of them seem really similar. I do want you to know all 11.
Yeah.
Study all 11. In your situation that you're going through, like write down all 11 and how this can be learned or used with that individual that's hurting you, that you're having to forgive.
Yes.
All right.
But so this is what forgiveness is
not. Right. Okay. So forgiveness is not approval of what they did. It is not excusing what they did. It is not justifying what they did or pardoning what they did.
Yeah, and these are super important. The approval is the Lord, like approval of what they did. The Lord never looks on us and says, Caroline, you sinned. Way to go. Like, like that is completely Satan. Like that is like Satan endorses sin. He endorses evil. He approves evil. Okay. The very opposite of that is God. He does not approve of sin, and forgiveness is not approval. Like he doesn't ask you to approve of their sin.
Yeah.
Okay. Excusing what they did. The Lord is never going to ask you, Millie Mae, ever to cover their sin for them. And this is where it could get kind of interesting, depending on what, there's somebody that lies to you, and then there's somebody that's committed a crime. And so crimes and abuse and that kind of, those should all be reported to authority, to anybody a trusted adult that will listen. So let's be very clear on that. But we're not excusing it. The Lord is not going to let us slip by with our own sin. And the same goes for, we don't have to explain it away. Like, we're no covering, justifying it. We're not making it right or just. God never calls evil right. And so these are the things, this is why, Millie Mae, it's so important for you to know who you are in Christ, because the Lord forgiveness is not saying that evil thing that happened to you was okay. The Lord says, no, like, you are a child of His, and what happened or whatever, that offense, whatever's happening in your life, call it what it is. Don't cover it. Don't excuse it. And put it out in front.
Call it what it is. So I'll call it what it is. The battle that the three of us just came out of was, calling it what it is, was with the covert Christian narcissist.
Covert Christian narcissist. Look it up.
I mean, you go through this list and you think about what God wants you to do with this information, and then you're dealing with a covert Christian narcissist. They want you to do one thing, and it's opposite of what God is trying to tell you, right? The next two things with that in mind is denying what they did and having a blindness to what they did. A covert Christian narcissist will deny all day long that they ever did anything to harm you or to hurt you. They're going to be the ones that are always the victim in it all, right? And
it will always be turned on you.
And so no matter how much that party that hurt you or someone's sinful acts have hurt you, don't deny it away. And don't turn a blind eye to it.
And it's so important with the denying part that forgiveness is not denying. It's not pretending like those facts didn't exist. And it's tough to say. I mean, I don't know why it's tough. It's ridiculous, but it's tough to say this person did this. Yeah. Especially like if you loved them or you trusted them, it's hard to say that they did this. But I can't deny it, and you have to speak what is truth. No covering.
And so the seventh thing, and this one hit home because we were right out of the battle. It was like fresh, and we were told by someone that they look forward to our reconciliation. Just got out of the battle. Now a leader's telling us to reconcile. That was the next step. Absolutely not.
And let me say this with that comment. It wasn't it was not in response to them knowing the full situation. They didn't know the full situation. In fact, they never bothered to ask the right question. So let me be clear on that, because it could sound like, well, that they're in hopes of reconciliation, and sure, but like it was just a Band-Aid, I think, really just to kind of shut us up and move us on. They didn't know facts. They didn't ask facts. They did not want to know more. Yeah. Okay.
So there's something that will set you free. Like, yes, you are to forgive. The next step is not reconciliation. In between forgiveness and reconciliation is a whole bunch of trust that needs to take place. Okay. And reconciliation is two parties coming together in an agreement, okay, to work on the relationship. But just because someone comes out with like, you're in this process of forgiveness, they might even come and say, I'm sorry, will you forgive me? Right? You will know, you pray for discernment. You will
Yes.
know if that is a sincere, genuine seeking of forgiveness, or if it's just a quick trip back to comfort.
Yes.
But you will know. And you don't leap right back into reconciliation. You go through the processes of trust. And that person you should see evidences of all these actions that they are taking to become a true repentant person. All right. And so don't hop into reconciliation, or don't think that that is the next step after forgiveness.
And I just want to clarify what your dad said, because it is, reconciliation is two people agreeing. And so that'd be like me and your dad, like getting annoyed with each other and bickering or something. And then both seeking forgiveness, and then both deciding, okay, we're not going to do that anymore. And, sorry, I was a jerk. We're not going to be jerks anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like it's two people wanting best for the relationship, but that cannot happen when you're dealing with any kind of toxic, narcissistic person. They don't have the capability to even see their own faults, and even if they did, barely, they're definitely not going to ever admit anything, like ever, ever, ever. So that right there stops you, because you could be ready to walk forward with forgiveness, and they're not, and and you can't move on. Otherwise, you're right back in the hurt and the pain that you just got out of.
Yeah.
And the Lord doesn't want that for you.
So your mom said earlier, call it what it is. And so like even these psychological titles, like narcissism, toxic, no, it's stinking evil. And that is what you're up against. I mean, there are going to be people that come into your life that are trying to disrupt your life and your walk with God, to just because of their false testimony. They're trying to give you a false testimony, because they're going to trip you up and distort and disturb the testimony that God is trying to work out through your life.
Why? Because Satan wants to stop people that love him. And a lot of times as you're growing in the Lord, he can't get to you in other areas. Like he can't get you to drink and be crazy and be all these, whatever these crazy sins are, whatever. But he can get somebody weaseled into your life that would cause total destruction, and get you to focus on them and their destruction, and then more on the Lord. And that's where he loves, like within the Christian home, man, he is after division.
Yeah. And it's just so tricky. And these are like
It is.
so debatable words, like reconciliation. I just don't know. I mean, I'm in the process of searching for it. And I was telling your mom this week that I'm in Matthew 4 and I'm reading about Jesus being tempted by Satan in the wilderness. There was no reconciliation to that story. And I mean, I think God is more of a God of redemption than he is of reconciliation. Because first of all, at the end of chapter 4 in Matthew, Jesus tells Satan to go away. That's not reconciling, right? Lucifer was not let back into heaven at the end of this story. Like,
Preach.
Jesus is not going to come back to earth in the second coming and then reconcile with Satan. So, I don't know. You got to be smart. And again, it is so debatable. This could fire people up. But I'm telling you, as your dad, and I want you to be a very wise follower of Christ. And this is one of those moments. It's a big moment where you have to pray specifically for discernment in the process of forgiveness of what is the next steps.
Because some things can never be the same. Millie Mae, you're going to have friendships that end, and they need to end. You know what I mean? Like, they bring out the worst in you, and they have all these tendencies, and so that friendship ending, it's good, it's healthy for you, it protects you, and the thing is, I mean, wicked is wicked, and there's boundaries. And what I love about the Lord and being a believer and following in him is that he gives me the confidence in him to walk away, to shut the door and never open it up again with evil people. Like, and yes, we had to go through certain things and we learned from them, but he also gives me the strength, right? The courage, and again, the confidence to draw that line. And I'm going to trust the Lord to keep that door shut and let him take care of it. Then I'm going to open up, try to peek around and see what's happening with it. And that's where that reconciliation just does not play in. He will show you when it's the right thing.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. And another one is thrown out, and this one was weaponized in the Bible. Forgive and forget. You just need to forgive and forget. And that was told to us by the covert Christian narcissist and a couple of people around that. And let me tell you something. That is stupid. Like, that is not being a wise Christian. Like, we're trying to make you into a disciple so that you can become a disciple maker, and that is a learner, not a forgetter.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so
This one also fires me up. They all fire me up. This one is, again, we hear these things told to us really because nobody wants to help us. But if the church, the people of the church, and I don't mean I mean like the believers in Jesus Christ as a church, if we would take the time to walk people through forgiveness and what forgiveness is not, we wouldn't say these band-aids and send them on their way and good luck and just leave them to the wolves. Our testimony is built around what has happened to us and how God has been through us in those happenings. Okay. And so for us to forget would be like us to remove God from our story altogether. And that right there, then what are you doing? Why are you following the Lord? You know what I mean? We have a story because we are going to relate to somebody else that has a similar story. And so we cannot forget. We get free of it so that we're not tainted and bitter and angry. But we don't forget. We've got to be able to relate to one another and to ask somebody to just, it's out of laziness that they don't care to help you.
Yeah, forgiveness is amazing. I mean,
It is.
I told you about, I had this 88 people on my list. And like when I start praying through forgiveness, your soul is getting decluttered in the process.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing that I remember, like, I was feeling so clean that when there was a little bit of residue inside my soul, I was aware of it. And I'm talking about like a fine dust particle of unforgiveness. I could feel that in my soul. And that is a beautiful thing. That is the importance of all this thing. And like, you don't want to forget any of it. You don't want to forget when you're wronged. You don't want to forget what the Lord is doing in you in your process and walk of forgiveness. None of it. He says, do this in remembrance of me. Do it all, man. You are a follower of Christ, and you're doing it all in remembrance of him, okay? We'll run through the last three, and we'll cluster those together.
Okay.
Number 9 would be refusing to take the wrong seriously. And number 10, pretending that you're not hurt. Forgiveness is not pretending that you're not hurt. And then the last one, and it's so important, forgiveness is not allowing them to continue to harm you.
So the forgiveness is not refusing to take the wrong seriously. This one I think is super important for us because the Lord, like the sin happened, and the Lord takes our sin as believers extremely serious. He takes the sin of other people very seriously, and he really takes the sin committed against his children extremely seriously. And like he died on the cross, like the most serious thing for us, for our sin. And so it's being able to fully understand how we've been forgiven, and now we can forgive. and just how it's not a flippant thing. The whole thing is serious. You calling their sin and being able to deal with that, because sometimes we don't want to do that. We don't want to say it out loud, but we need to. And then it's affected us. We don't want to say how we are now bitter and angry and dirty, and we got to say that. And then the Lord says, give it to me. I'm going to cover it, and I'm going to heal you up. And so the seriousness of that, pretending that we've never been hurt, walking around acting like nothing ever happened, that's a lie. We need other people, and we need people. We need healthy people around us to say, "Gosh, what's going on? Share with me. Talk to me. How can I pray for you?" We need bold people that will ask the right questions, and be willing to seek us out to help, and then for us to put our pride down and say that we are hurting. You know what I mean? And then of course never allowing them to continue to harm us. You want to talk on that one?
Man, it's in our walk with it. I mean, we were being severely oppressed, but the greatest thing that I found out through all of that is how much the Lord loves me and how much He guided me through all of this, not just through the battle. He even loved me enough that I wouldn't harm myself with unforgiveness and carry that stuff around anymore, you know? And I think that's just a part of that getting clean aspect, and the setting the free is the getting clean. And what a beautiful addition to the story. It wasn't just the rescue; it was the rescue from myself. You know, one of the greatest titles I've ever read. The book wasn't the greatest book, but it was called "Save Me from Myself." The lead singer from Tool wrote that book, and save me from myself. And I think you do yourself a mighty favor of allowing God to work through this process of forgiveness of what it is not, and save you from years of just cluttering up your soul with hate, resentment, bitterness, anger. I mean, I lived all that out, man. And do yourself a favor and just get clean.
And let these words, Millie Mae, of what forgiveness is not, let that be just comfort to your soul. Like, I just keep thinking about it, and I've said this before, but it's like, it just feels like a blanket wrapped around me, because as believers, a lot of times we put everything on ourselves. Like, what did I do wrong? How did I mess up? We just assume something, like that we somehow attracted an evil person into our life, or we somehow, we're so negative. Wouldn't you agree? We're so negative to ourselves, and forgiveness is not all these things. The Lord is going to, he is not going to let the wrong that was done to us, the words that were said, the secret things in darkness, everything is brought to light. He is not letting any of that slide. And so we can be free by not covering for them. And we can be free by walking out, not being so codependent on them. We can be free and trust in the Lord and not have. Did we even talk about the Messianic complex?
Did not.
We did not even get to that. The Messianic complex, and this is totally taking a right turn, but who gives a rip? Like, it is like, as a believer, us thinking we are in charge of everything, that we can help save them. We can help change them. It's on us. If we don't keep pursuing them, if we don't keep praying harder, nothing's going to happen, as if God really is not going to show up for us. And the Lord is like, no, you are my child. Like, He is everything. Like, I will take care of this. I need you to bend your knee and surrender to me and let me heal you up.
And in closing, I just want to say, like, so I read that book the last week of March of last year. And so I'm not even a year into it. And I haven't even mastered it, you know?
No.
And as a matter of fact,
it's a life sentence.
In the first year of anything that I've ever taken on, I haven't mastered anything in the first year. I mean, a serious painter since 2003. I'm not a master painter. Been married to your mom for 12 years, 13, something like that. I'm close to
I think
mastering
we're
the
almost at
marriage,
14.
but yeah, haven't mastered the marriage yet. Pretty close. But allow yourself that. Don't think you have to master or perfect it in a set period of time. That'd be great. I wish I could give you the recipe to forgiveness.
I know.
And you mix all this stuff together and you give it over to the Lord to bake it, and it comes out wonderful. I wish that was it, but that's just not the way it is. But appreciate the process He's bringing you through.
Yes. And in Limitations, it says, His mercies are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. And it says that because this is a life sentence. And you're going to wake up in the morning, or you're going to have a dream. This has happened to us. And you have this dream, this very vivid dream, and you wake up and those emotions are stirred back up. And you got to go right back to the Lord and put everything right back in that forgiveness. That's why it's a daily thing. It's sometimes a minute by minute thing. And it like sometimes that changes and sometimes it doesn't, but you have to just keep walking. His mercies every morning, He's going to give us exactly what we need for that day. He already knows the temptations. He already knows who's going to walk by us and say something that triggers us. With that certain person we're trying to get away from. He already knows all that kind of stuff, and He's going to give us what we need. And so we just got to be aware, and we got to be willing to just go right back to Him and not don't take the forgiveness back. Keep throwing it down again and again.
We love you, Millie Mae.
We love you, and
we just want you to be free.
We just want you to be free.